Okay, my algebras, as promised, we have another concept to cover today, and that is 4-4, the slope formula. How do you find the slope using the slope formula? So what if my graph doesn't just go up by ones, right? All the graphs we looked at so far, every x value was just 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the y values were 1, 2, 3, 4, but not in life. Often do we have graphs that are represented by just ones, right? We usually represent really large things or really small things in a graph. So we want to make sure we can find the slope just using a few points on the graph. Now, we know that the slope is the change in the y values over the change in the x. So on this graph, if I have the 1 point, I can see it's going up 4 and over 3 because this is all counting by ones, right? So every single time it is. And even if I go down, -4 over -3 is still 4/3, right? But like I said before, not every graph just goes up by ones. So how do we handle that? Well, we have a slope formula called M. And by the way, when we get to our slope-intercept form, M is always the measurement of the slope. That's why I like to say it's M. I'm not sure why people named it M, just that, X was taken, Y is taken. So the slope of a line is M, and it's the changes in the Y values, or Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Now, what in the world? What's the deal with the ones and the twos, and what does that represent? Very simple. We don't want to confuse our X's and Y's from the two different points. So we want to keep in mind that this is the second point, and we're going to be subtracting it from the first point. And it's really that simple. We just label them so we don't make a mistake. Let's see how it works in real life, okay? So if I have this point, 4, -2, and -1, 2, how can I use the slope formula? Because look, there's no graph on here. I can't sit there and do rise over run. Of course, I could graph it out and do it, but why when I can just use my slope formula? I just need to pick which point is 1 and which point is 2. Well, the first one's 1 and the second one's 2. And I just use the formula to solve. I plug in for what I know to solve for what I don't know, as it always is in algebra. So we are going to have y2, which is the second y, subtracting the first y, which happens to be a -2. We really have to watch our negatives here, because when we're subtracting a negative, we're actually, adding. So let's look at our x's. We have -1, because that's the x2, the x value that goes with the y value, y2, subtracting the y1. And now we do the math. And 2 plus 2 is 4. And -1 and -4 is -5. And now we know the slope of the line. Now you might be saying to yourself, but wait, how did I know which one was first and which one was second? It doesn't matter. You get to choose. That's a great thing. You get to pick how you want to solve for your slope formula. So let's look at it if I chose to do it the other way. What if I did it the other way, right? And I picked the second point and labeled it the first, and the first point and labeled it the second, and I solve for here. Look, I still get -4/5. Magical, right? So let me just show it to you one more time. What if I switched it? I still get -4/5. This is why this negative value here can be applied here or here, right? Here or here, as long as I make sure it's in one of the places, because it's a negative slope. And if it's a negative slope, which way does it go? Yep, it goes this way, right? Go ahead and try these 2 points and see what you get. I'm going to go 5 minus 6, negative 4 minus negative 4. Whoa, what's this one? Can I divide a number by 0? No, it's undefined. Okay, let's try another one that's not so tricky. Pause the video and check yours. When I plug this in, I get negative 3 over 9. I'm going to go ahead and reduce that to negative 1/3. And again, this is a negative slope, right? And this one was undefined, or it would have gone like this. Another you try. And check your answers. This one happens to be a 0 slope. This is going to go this way. And you can kind of already see that. You know what my hint was? The y values are the same, right? That means that y value is having all the x's. So if I have it on a graph, right, I can just plug in my points and solve. But honestly, if it was this easy, if you had this kind of graph, why wouldn't you just not count it over? So how do I find the slope from an equation? Well, the slope is the value in front of the x. It is not including the x because remember, every x and y in the equation represents a solution. So the slope here is 2, which we know is also 2 over 1, right? What if it's written like this? I have to first solve for y. Then I see here that the slope is negative 1/2. It's not negative 1/2 x. It's a common error, right? It's just negative 1/2. Try this one and check your solution. Did you get negative 2? Well, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in class.